The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello everybody. This is Chris Kolpak, System Vice President of Facilities at the University of Arizona and immediate past president of APA. In our continuous effort for continuous improvement, sharing great topics for all our facilities leaders. Today we have a great topic here from ASSA ABLOY, Smart Door Tagging, the Future of Maintaining Doors. And with us we have Jeremy Saline, Director of Business Development for Higher Education throughout North America. We also have Jeff Rinslensbacher, Opening Studios Building Technology Consultant. That's a mouthful, but the fact is Jeff has a large experience working with ASSA ABLOY, as Jeremy does too. And so we appreciate very much them taking time to share information, allowing our leaders to stay on top of the curve of being the best of the best in the facilities leadership. As always, our APA main office working with Billy. These webinars are good for CEUs. You can contact her. We will have the webinar on our APA webpage, usually within a week, if not sooner. That will be the PDF of the PowerPoint along with the audio version. And we will have our continuous APA webinar series, which has been very successful. The next one that I'll be doing is on April 25th. We are going to be switching that one to 9 o'clock Arizona time, 12 o'clock Eastern. So without further ado, if you have questions, please go ahead and send them to us. This is about a 45-minute presentation, and then we'll do questions. So Jeff and Jeremy, take it away.
Okay, so this is Jeff Rinslensbacher. I apologize for the length of my name and the length of my title. I chose neither, but again, it's Jeff Rinslensbacher. I'm an opening studio building technologies consultant. I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I came from Salt Lake City, Utah. I've been with ASSA ABLOY. I'm going on 14 years, so in October it will be 14 years. And before that, I worked for a door hardware distributor in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm happy to be presenting, and I didn't know if Jeremy was going to take just a minute to introduce himself. You
go right ahead, Jeff. I'm in an airport and don't want to disrupt today's presentation. So thank you, everybody.
Very good. I wanted to start the presentation by recapping what our learning outcomes will be. So hopefully at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the discover the potential of capturing door frame and hardware information and how it can be used by a facility, understanding the importance of having access to this information throughout the entire life cycle of the building, and then learn how to utilize the information to create standards for new construction and retrofit moving forward. The form that we're going to show to everybody is a way to share that information digitally with an architect, a designer, a security consultant, specifier, and construction firms. So to illustrate this, I just wanted to give you 3 examples. The first is a project that we're doing in Las Vegas. It is a sports facility. It's a very large sports facility. And the way that we were brought into this opportunity and eventually won this project was because of what we can offer to a facility like this facility. As many of you know, ASSA ABLOY writes door hardware specifications for commercial buildings. In addition to that, we have several other services that we can provide. And it was those other services that helped us win this project. So the specification was already written for this sports arena. We had the opportunity to go in and present some information to the owner. So the owner of this facility was interested in BIM. Many of you on the phone may understand what BIM is. It's called Building Information Modeling. And what that means is many of you have seen an architect's a model of a building that an architect may have in their lobby or entryway. What building information modeling is doing something similar to that. So that's a great representation of what a building is going to look like. But we can attach the I in BIM, which is information. So what we can do is we can open the lid to that little wood model and look inside and see the doors that are in that model. And when you pull those doors out, you can actually see all of the information that's assigned to that door. You can see the size, the thickness, the width, and anything else that's any other bits of information that are assigned to the opening. So in addition to being able to provide more detailed information to the doors in Revit, the other key factor to this was being able to put a smart tag or a QR tag on each of the openings and conduct a punch list and site survey using the information that's available in Opening Studio. So that's the first example. The next example that I have is several years ago. This was before I left Utah and made the trek to Atlanta, Georgia. I conducted at the time it was a 22 hospital and several clinic site survey. So each facility, each hospital, a coworker and I went to each of the facilities and established a 3 to 5 page document that captured the door, frame, and hardware requirements and standards that existed for each of the 22 hospitals that existed at the time for this facility. The turnover and what we gave to the owner was a 3-ring binder and a disc that had all of the standards for each of these hospitals, so that at a glance we put tabs in the 3-ring binder, so each hospital had their own tab, and then we had a separate tab for all of the clinics. The third example that I have is, this is not the university that I'm talking about, but it represents a university. We went to a college in Florida, and it was a college that we had already written the specification for, and we had found that the general contractor who won the job was using Revit, and so was the contract hardware distributor that won the project was also using a BIM tool that would allow us to update information into the architect's Revit model. So these 3 scenarios all share 2 things. The first is each of the end users wanted to take advantage of the information that was available to them. So in the example of the stadium, that is, nothing had been done. Well, the specification had been written, but no construction had started. So we are able to start from the ground up, and we had laid the foundation. The owner had written out the requirements of what information they wanted to see, and they had included door frame and hardware information in the specifications. The next example of the healthcare facility, we had gone and physically gathered that information. It took a long time, over a couple of months, to gather that information, and then the information that was presented to the owner at that time was right on par with what they had expected. And then in the last example, our college and university, the facility, we had a bunch of things already in place, and the stars were aligning, and they wanted to take advantage of the information that we had available. So what do we have available? Opening Studio is the software program that ASSA ABLOY created. It was created back in 2009, and it was primarily as a specification writing tool for our spec writers. So commercial buildings, we would manually enter information into Opening Studio. We would select a product. So on this sheet, you can see that the hardware set parameters. Each of these are hardware components. So this is 4-butt hinges. 2 electrified hinges, an integrated lock set. So we would manually enter all of this information into Opening Studio, which would produce the Word document that you would see in a specification section. We quickly found that there was a way to incorporate and tie our efforts more closely to what the architects were doing. So many of you may be familiar with Revit. This is Revit, and an architect, when they want to add a door to, so if I wanted to add a door to this conference room and I was an architect, what I would do is come up to the Architecture tab in Revit, and I would select the door category. And here at the top left corner are all of the doors that are available out-of-box Revit for this project. So if I wanted to add a double door that was 72 by 80 inches, I would select that door and simply drop it right there in the plan. This is the standard practice. So a lot of architectural firms have done some detailed things with their doors. They may use a combination of out-of-box Revit doors, but then they also have gone to great extents to create door families, which is what these little things are. Every element in Revit is a family. So this wall, this door that I'm on is a door family. This wall is a family. This wall is a family. If I wanted to choose the window in that wall, that's a family. So a Revit model is made up of several families. So what we came up with is a way for an architect to send us the detailed information about their project through Revit. So up here at the very top, you can see this tab called Openings Studio. By selecting that Opening Studio tab, the architect can analyze their job. So what happens here is Opening Studio goes through and is looking at all of the doors that are in the door category. So all of these things, all of these elements that are in the model, these families that are in the model that are in the door category, are going to be picked up by Opening Studio. In addition, the geometry for this project is also going to come in. So this is what Opening Studio looks like when a project is first analyzed by an architect. So you can see that the up top is all the door details, the opening details. So it's broken up by hardware sets, hardware products, the door types, the frame elevations, and then down at the very bottom is our door and frame schedule. And at the top right is a visualizer that lets you see what door families the architect used in their Revit model. So what we do with projects like this is we take the plan views that we get and the door and frame schedules. We look at the elevations of the doors that the architect has created. So we've got, many of you have seen something like this. There's the flush door, that's a full glass door, a narrow light, and then the different frame elevations. So what we would do in Opening Studio is make those into industry standard door families. Once that's done, we then have a really powerful tool to help push additional information downstream. So architects will oftentimes share their models with a general contractor. If they don't share the models and you're working with a general contractor who's using Revit, they may redraw the entire building and have that available for the as-builts. So when they do share that model, and when the project comes into Opening Studio, let me show you what this looks like. This is a project that has been completed. So the hardware sets have been assigned. So you can see here is opening 100. So down here at the bottom is opening 100. It has all the detailed information about the door. So it's a 6 foot by 7 foot, 1.75" hollow metal door with a hollow metal frame. It has hardware set number 6, and it even gives you a description of what hardware set 6 is. So it's a pair of egress doors that are in a corridor, and they have access control. So you'll see right away that there is a power column in this summary page. So anything that has a lightning bolt in this screen is an electrified product. So you can also see down here at the bottom is the notes. So these are operational narratives that are assigned to each hardware set. So this opening is, doors are normally closed and locked, and entry by presentation of a valid credential to release outside trim or by mechanical key override. Each of the products that exist up here in the summary are hyperlinks. So if I were to click on that hinge, if I wanted to see exactly what that hinge is, all I have to do is click it, and it's going to give me the detailed information about the T4A 3387 or 3386, along with the electrified components for that product. And again, they exist for each line item that is highlighted in blue as a hyperlink. So one of the things that happened when we met with the stadium and also the college and the healthcare facility in my examples, we met with you as facility folks and owners, representatives and owners, to establish what your standards are. And we would write hardware sets around those standards. And I want you to remember that for a portion of the presentation that's going to come up in just a little bit. The other thing that happens, so I explained that the door that comes in automatically from Revit, the door on the left in this visualizer pane, is the door family that the architect has used in their model. Remember that every element in an architect's model is a family. So this is the door family that they chose for this location. What we do is take that door and frame elevation sheet, and we try and match it up with something that is industry standard. So in this example, the architect chose nomenclature like an F door was flush, but if they were to call these something different, we would convert that into something that our industry would understand, all the time maintaining the architect's door type and door material, frame type, and frame material. We would just convert that into something that would be understood by our industry. In addition, and this is where the power or the detailed information comes in really handy. So one of the things that you can do with a project that comes from Revit is that you can adjust the visibility and how you see these openings. So I was in a meeting last week, and an architect, I was on the phone with an architect, and we were trying to do that dreaded door-by-door meeting that went through each of the access control locations, and then they wanted to go through the fire-rated locations. And what happened is the architect was sharing their screen, and they had a PDF of the hardware sets and then a PDF of the door schedule, just like this. And what he wanted to do was go door by door on the door schedule and make sure that we had covered each of the doors. And what he would do is use this document. He would find door number 100, and he would see that it was in hardware set number 16. And then he would go to the PDF of the door and frame schedule and try and find hardware set 16. And that would identify what hardware was required for door 100. I asked if I could take the screen, and I opened up Opening Studio just like this. And the advantage to this screen is as follows. So what I did, let me do that again. So I can split this screen, split the window, and it gives me another little pop-up window. The options that are available to me are the 3D option, or the 3D view. And what this does is when you select an opening, down on the door and frame schedule, it actually highlights that opening where it's at in the floor plan view. It shows you the current family that the architect used, and then this is the revised family, or this is what we as a specification team are interpreting that opening to look like. These doors can be flipped around. So this happens to be a door coming from this training area, and the architect had asked this to be exit only. You can see the hinges on the door. It's an FRP door with a piece of glass, a transom panel above it. But the exit device is an exit only with a parallel arm door closer. If you wanted to see what that parallel arm door closer was, you could click on that DC 6210 to see the cut sheets that are loaded in. The other thing that you can do is click on installation instructions. So if you wanted to have access to the installation instructions, which include the adjustments. So if you're being asked to go out to a door because the closing speed or the sweep speed is too fast, you can utilize the information in Opening Studio by clicking on the opening that they've told you is a problem, and then you can select the component or the piece of hardware that is in question, and any of that information that's loaded in here you could access from your mobile app and see exactly how to adjust that door closer. The other thing that can be done with this is warranty information can be loaded in, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Wiring diagrams. So if we look at, so this is an integrated lock set, so the card reader is built into the door. This is a huge savings in wire runs. So as opposed to having the card reader on the wall, and then electrified exit devices with door position switches and request to exits, this integrated solution allows for less wire runs. So we can load in access control information about these doors. Like I said, we can do warranty information and cut sheets or wiring diagrams. The other thing that happens with this is we allow for the security consultants to utilize the information in Opening Studio. So if we've written the specification and a security consultant is on the same project that we're on, we would allow them to collaborate. So one of the first things that you can do with the door and frame schedule is you can right-click down below and you can filter by all of the electrified openings. So what that's going to do is down in the door and frame schedule below, it's looking for that lightning bolt in any of the hardware sets that exist in the project. And if that lightning bolt exists, it's going to include that door in the schedule down below. So we can quickly see that some of these share the same hardware set. We could even filter by just the hardware set that we want to see. So if we wanted to clear the filter, we could clear the filter out and just filter by hardware set number 1. And we're only going to see the door that has hardware set number 1. So this door happens to be an exterior door. It does have ADA operators. There is, let's see what else is on the opening. So we've got standard door pulls with an exit device, the ADA operator, a power supply that is running the latch retraction of the exit device, and this exit device has a built-in request to exit. So one of the things that we've given our security consultants access to are the electrical elevations. And these electrical elevations are created using the hardware sets that are listed above. So the same example, so I'm still on this exterior door, but you can see now that I'm on the elevations tab. I created an elevation and called that elevation type 1. It's a single 3070 left-hand reverse door. It's in hardware set number 1. It's a card reader with an ADA push button. Many of you have seen an elevation drawing that looks like this. So if I scoot this in, maybe slide this over just a little bit, each of these screens can be undocked. So if I wanted to undock that and maybe I put this on a separate monitor and have everybody, look at this screen while I'm going through the door and frame schedule, it just keeps everybody kind of on focus and on task. If we're just addressing access control doors, it allows us to address the access control doors, and that's it. So each of these can be undocked. You can redock them and it will go back to where it was. So let me show you the electrical elevation. So again, this can be flipped around. So what it's doing is it's taking the door and frame information that exists for opening 119, and I created a new elevation for it. And now our security consultants can collaborate on this, and they're using the hardware set that came directly from the specification. So they've got the same hinge, the same electronic exit device, same door pulls, same mechanical hardware. It also includes wiring diagrams and so there's the wiring diagram that goes with that product. But it gives them an elevation view of how the opening is going to be wired up. In addition, it tags each of these components. So if I were to see this AS is an actuator switch, so it's an ADA actuator. LR is latch retraction. EH is an electric hinge. AO is an auto operator. And these come with a legend that would explain what they are. The PS, the power supply, you can flip the door around and you can see that, again, it has the AS and the door contact. So we've created electrical elevations for each of these openings. And one of the things that I know about access control is that not every facility wants these access control doors to function the same way. So the operational narrative and this visual are a powerful tool in making sure that things are not only have power where they're required to have power, but are going to function in the field the way that they're supposed to function. So this operational narrative came directly from the hardware set assignment that's in the door and frame schedule. But that information can be shared with the electrical elevation. So now our security consultant or low voltage contractor is working off the exact same information that's included in the specification. These can be inputted, or the export of these, I can print these to a PDF. I can even print these to a Revit file, and these in a sheet to go back into Revit. And again, this is for our security consultants. And it's very easy to create one. The way that it works is once the hardware sets are assigned, so if I were to come down here to the bottom and if I were to add a new electrical elevation for an opening that I'm creating an elevation and I'm calling it delete because I want to delete it. Once I'm in that electrical elevation, really the only thing that you need to do is click this little button right here and it automatically labels things for you. That's as simple and easy as it is to do. Something else that's new is this keying schedule. So what this does is it puts in numerical order all of the openings that exist, and it highlights any of the products that are keyed and allows us to put in key symbol, an operated by, so a narrative of how that opening is supposed to work, the bidding information if you chose to do so. The other thing that is extremely valuable is this RFI column. So this RFI column is used a couple of different ways. So it's used during the DD and CD phases between our specification consultants and the architect to iron out any issues or problems. So if a card reader needed to be added, the architect could click on the RFI column and simply type in add card reader per Paul Walker, click new, and it would create that RFI. I added 2 RFIs to this project because in the documents that came for this project, opening 118A used to be a pair, now it's a single, it's a 4070 single, and door 118B was added to the project. So within Opening Studio, I simply made those notes in the RFI column, changed to a 4070 single door in Addendum 5, and the same thing is true for Opening 118B, that it was added, 307 left-hand reverse door in Addendum number 5. I bring this up to you because this RFI column could be used by you as you're collaborating with an architect. Many of you have been asked to review not shop drawings, but the specifications before they go out to bid. This would allow you to have all of that information right at your fingertips. The plan view isn't the only thing that you can see. You can see a typical building view. This is interactive both ways. You can click on a door in the plan and it's going to take you to where it's at in the door and frame schedule. It's also going to show you that detailed view, or you can click on a door down in the door and frame schedule and it will take you right to that opening. So when you are being asked to review for compliance that not only are your standards being met, but card reader locations are where they're supposed to be, all you would need to do is log into Opening Studio, start at the very top of the list. This is a simple 27-door job, so it's not real difficult, but you can simply start at the top of the list, work your way down. You can quickly see, oh, that's that door, it's the exterior door, the one that's exit only. This one was the one that we had discussed and needed to be a card relocation, so that's where they're going to funnel people in. So that's good. If you had a question on one of the products, you know, what is the auto operator that is being proposed? It's the 6000 series by Norton. Okay, great. What we talked about. Any other information that you would need is right here at your fingertips. The other time that this comes in handy, well, we'll get into that in just a moment. So you can use Opening Studio to do your reviews at either the CD or DD phase whenever you're being asked to review the specifications before they go out to bid. Another couple of neat features about the program. First is anything that is highlighted in yellow is a change from the last time the architect sent the project to Opening Studio or used the Analyze feature. This is really helpful for not only the specification writing, but for you as individuals to, if you've reviewed it once, and now this is the second time you're reviewing it, maybe you do spot check a couple of these, but maybe you focus on the highlighted yellows to make sure that they are in fact what was asked for or needed for the project. There are all sorts of reports that can be run from Opening Studio. You can do a comparison report comparing one version to the other to see what changed. You can also you can show the change log. You can create a custom filter. So if you wanted to filter by any of the new openings or deleted openings, anything that's a pre-existing opening, you can even, one of the other views that's available in the software is the door schedule view. So this is an interactive door schedule. You'll notice the blue highlight. These are hyperlinks. Again, when you click on the door here, it'll take you to where it's at in the door and frame schedule. What this allows us to do is to filter the schedule that's down below according to the schedule that's being shown here. So this is extremely helpful when you're dealing with a project that has more than one door schedule. If you just wanted to focus on doors that were on the first floor and there was a first floor door schedule, you could come down here and do the schedule filter, and it will give you a list of each of the door schedules that are created in the project. In my example, I've only got the one, but if there were 2 or 3, all you would do is click on filter and then filter on selected schedule, and it would drop off any door that was not on one of those door schedules. Extremely helpful in navigating and isolating, drilling down to see just the openings that you want to see. If you've been asked to view all of the wood doors on the project, you can filter by any one of these columns. You know, so right now I've got only the wood doors are being filtered. If I wanted to isolate the doors that just had card readers, now I've got 2 filters turned on, one by wood door and the other by card reader, and I can make global changes to each one of those. I could even turn on this button, which is an apply changes to all visible rows. When I do that, the top of the door schedule turns yellow. And if I were to add an RFI, so if each of these doors that were wood and card reader needed to change to hollow metal, I could say, please change this door to hollow metal. And when I hit new, because I've got the apply changes to all visible rows on, it's going to put an RFI in there for every one of those doors that's on the schedule. Okay, so we've talked about specification writing. So ASSA ABLOY writes door hardware, door frame and hardware specifications. We have a really unique tool in allowing a contract hardware distributor who's supplying a project to upload the as supplied. So this right now is as specified. We can actually pull in the as supplied information into this project into Opening Studio. So what does that mean to you? That means when you come in here and you get a phone call from somebody that says, my classroom door, this morning I noticed that there was oil leaking down the face of that door. Rather than going to the door to verify that the oil was leaking down the face of the door, you could log into Opening Studio, click on that door. You can see the opening and what it looks like, and you could actually click on that DC6210, get any installation instruction or adjustment instructions. But even more important, you're getting the product number, DC6210. You can see that it's a left-hand reverse door. You could actually throw a closer body if you've got one in the shop. You could throw that closer body in the truck, go to the opening, and maybe eliminate the need to go back a second time. And you can do that with everything. The keying schedule. You know, if a key breaks off in door 105, and you need to know how that's keyed, as long as the information is provided by the distributor and can be updated, then the information that's in Opening Studio is now the as supplied, not the as specified. And that is true with our electrical elevations as well. So with that information, with the information in Opening Studio now changed to as supplied, we're ready for the next step, and that is to apply QR codes to each of these doors. So one of the functions in Opening Studio is to print smart tags, and what that will do is it prints a tag for every line item in the project. What you would do then is you would switch from the desktop version of Opening Studio, and you would log in on your smartphone. So either a tablet or a smartphone. You would then go to the opening, and this can be done by the general contractor. It can be done by the distributor. It could be done by you. What you would end up doing is at the opening, you would stick the QR tag on the door frame. Oops. So you stick that QR tag on the door frame, and then you can scan that QR code, and it's going to pull up information that looks really close to this. So you're going to have a front and back view of what the opening is. This information is coming directly from Opening Studio. It gives you the QR code, gives you the operational narrative that comes directly from Opening Studio, all of the detailed hardware sets that are hyperlinked as well. So you'll get those PDF cut sheets of each of the products that are hyperlinked. The flame symbol as any fire-rated openings. So once that QR code is on there, it's what it'll look like. So this is a project that we did in Florida. This is door 119. This is door 108. So when you scan the QR code, if you don't have access to Opening Studio, or if you just use a standard QR scanner from your phone, this is what you would see. So you'd get detailed information about the project. You'd get the door number, 3070 aluminum door, and even that it's in hardware set number 1, and the description of the hardware set. So you could see at a glance that, okay, it's an exterior aluminum entry door with access control. The nice part about this too is you could send a message to whoever is calling you and ask them to go back to the opening and just take a picture with their phone of that QR code. Once you get that QR code, you could scan that QR code, and it would take you to this screen if you didn't have access. If you do have access, your screen is going to look a little bit like this. So you'll see that it's more information, it's detailed. This is door 119, same door. So this is the opening level. The button here is the edit button. This is the copy button. This is the notes, and up here is the survey or inspection buttons, and then this is the ability to scan a QR tag. So I don't know if anybody has thought of this, but let's say, you know, my project is 27 doors. That's a pretty easy project to maneuver and get around, and even printing those QR codes on one sheet, I can quickly find door A101, grab that QR code and put it on the door. But what happens on a facility that has hundreds of doors, and maybe we are taking advantage of having those QR codes coming on a roll? You know, I don't want to have to unroll the roll to get to door A105. So what this button is going to do is allow you to use a generic QR code that has the same adhesive back on it and everything, but you are assigning the QR code. This is the solution for painted over QR codes or codes that get taken off of the door. It's really easy to assign a new QR code. When you're at the opening, scan the QR code that you've got on the roll of stickers, put it on the door. That's now the new QR code for door 119. So I wanted to play this. So what this is it's showing the app in real life. Oops, let me go back one. So I'll scroll up, and then I'll go, so you can see there's the narrative of the opening, there's the hardware sets. I'm actually going to click Edit Opening. I'm going to change the building to be building number 1. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to take me back to the main screen, and then I'm going to edit the door and change it from hollow metal to wood because somebody changed it out at some point. I'm going to click OK. Down at the bottom, I need to add a piece of hardware, so it's a hardware that doesn't exist, and I chose a hinge. So you click on hinge, you click on the hinge type, it's asking if it's full mortise, full surface. I choose full mortise. Enter the quantity in, enter the weight, standard or heavy weight, and then any of the sizing, and then any of the options that are available for those hinges. And then when I'm done, I click OK, and it will take me back to the opening screen. And now that component or piece of hardware has been added to that opening. The other thing that's available with this mobile app, so we've now stuck a QR code on the door frame, and now we have an opportunity to either do a site survey or a punch list or an inspection. So the very first thing, again, it's at that opening screen, and I clicked on the little inspection button. So what I've got available is a new fire door inspection, a new smoke inspection, an egress inspection, or if I'm the general contractor, I can punch out the opening. So I choose fire door inspection, and I go down and find that the lock set is not compliant. So I click on the lock set and I say that it's missing or damaged. It's got damaged fasteners. And I go down to the closer and make a selection there. When I go back to the front, it tells me exactly why my opening is deficient. And it's missing those things. So this would allow you to print out a report of each of the openings and what needs to be done to them. The nice part about this is you don't ever have to say at opening 119, this happened. When you're logged into the app, because you're on opening 119, anything that you say or do to that opening, it knows that it's on 119. And that includes pictures. We can take front and back. Well, you can take pictures of anything. If you wanted to take a picture of the hinge, when you're on the hinge, you can click the camera and it will take a picture of the hinge. If you wanted to take a picture of the opening, the front and back of the opening, or the secure and unsecure side of the opening, you can do that as well. Okay. All right, so that is how a contract hardware distributor can upload the information and get the as supplied back into Opening Studio. The security consultants can collaborate and make the information even more accurate because it's up to speed with the electrical elevations that they've created. And the general contractor has used Opening Studio to create a punch list for the project. Now comes the fun part. And that fun part is where the stadium that I talked about and the college that I talked about are utilizing this information. Many of you may have BIM standards that are in your specifications where a certain level of BIM content is required to be turned over. I would ask, why not then have that BIM model, rather than it be these generic doors that are available in Revit, why not have that be updated with as supplied information? So one of the key things about Opening Studio is that once we have the information captured in Opening Studio, I can export this information back to the Revit model. And that information includes the hardware set number, but it also includes the tags that exist on the electrical elevations. So if I wanted these door tags to show up, this card reader lock and door contact, those could show up in my Revit model. And the hardware components themselves can be sent back to the Revit model. Many of you use programs to help create work orders, and if the app or the program that you're using is pointing towards Revit and extracting information from Revit, if these doors, which these are ASSA ABLOY doors, and they have ASSA ABLOY hardware set numbers and the tags that are assigned to those openings, if that information is in the program, when you point your apps at Revit, then that information, the hardware set numbers and hardware products, are going to be available for you to use. So the last thing that I want to talk about is what we can then do with a project like this, right? So essentially what we've done is we've captured some pretty difficult openings to communicate. I'm sure many of your facilities have design guides in place that represent your standards and what's to be used and when. What we can do is take this information. So this is now as supplied information. It's real world stuff, and it's on some pretty detailed, complex openings to communicate to an architect. What we can do with this is we can create a library in Opening Studio and turn it into what is called a virtual design guide. And what a virtual design guide is a project in Opening Studio that is just visible in a little bit different format. So it would look like this. So if I click on an opening here, you can see that these images look a lot like the images that come from Opening Studio. It's because they are coming from Opening Studio. So what this does is I click on this door and it shows me that it's that door number and it's this description, and here's the hardware set with the operational narrative. So what we would do is work with you, and we would ask you some tough questions about door hardware, like what doors on campus do you have that you go to on a regular basis, and you want to make sure that that never happens again on any project moving forward. What we would do is within Opening Studio, we would create a new door family, and we would provide the solution to that problem that you're having. And what we would do is over here in the operational narrative or the notes, we would say, this door family is to be used at all cross-corridor doors. Okay? And when we do that, create it in the virtual design guide, the virtual design guide is going to read that exact same information. Use this opening at all cross-corridor doors. And one of the best features of this is that so you as an owner would share this with an architectural firm. And you would say, Mr. Architect, these are our door families. These represent all of the components that make up the hardware sets. It has detailed information about the door type and frame elevations. I want you to use it when you start your next job. So rather than coming up here and clicking a new door and choosing the doors that are available from Revit, we can actually send each one of these doors and export it to Revit. So these door families, whatever they would be called, so this one is called 2C194. When an architect goes to use Revit and they've downloaded those door families, they would come up to the architect, click on door, and they would see that 2C985 door, and they would drop it. So if I had a cross corridor door, I'm grabbing that cross corridor door and placing it exactly where it needs to be. So all right, so this is what we can do. Obviously, we can write specifications, and we will continue to write specifications, but we can offer so much more. I think that the most important thing, and what I'd want you all to remember most about this presentation, is that we need to start somewhere. I shared the 3 stories about the stadium, the healthcare facility, and the college that we did. All 3 of those started the Opening Studio journey in different phases. So to recap, we can provide as-built information back to the Revit model if it needs to be, or that information can reside in Opening Studio for you to digest as you'd like. We can greatly enhance not only the look, but also the coordination of your access control locations. The punch-out thing is tied directly to the products that are in the specification and as supplied. We give you the ability to make a change to an opening, which also means that even if you didn't start with a project in Revit and that we did not write the specification, that doesn't mean that we can't start with an on-site survey. We can use the app to go to a door, click on add new opening, and put all the information in there about the door and actually assign hardware sets that way. We can do annual fire door inspections, life safety inspections. I hope that you understand how to smart tag, how you can use the mobile app versus the desktop application. But this, again, illustrates my point. It is an ecosystem, right? We want, if a project starts with an architect, we want them to analyze the job. That job can be, so it starts in Opening Studio. We can create facility standards using that project. We can use the mobile app to do site survey, fire door inspections, tag the openings, and then it comes back to the openings manager to manage the project through the life cycle of the building. But maybe it starts with QR codes. Maybe it's an existing facility. We're going to go out, we're going to tag the openings. It's going to come into Opening Studio. You can create a virtual design guide, so the very next project that you do, the architect is using the door families that you're telling them to use. So the potential of capturing door frame and hardware information. Again, it's important that we start now. Let's start with the next project. Let's start with your access control locations or your fire doors, and let's get these things into Opening Studio, which will allow you to benefit from all of the other information. Being able to use it to maintain your facilities, and how to turn that into something that can be shared with an architect that is more powerful than a Word document. It gives them really everything that they need in order to provide to you what you're asking for. So with that, again, my name is Jeff Rimlisbacher. I cover the Southeast region. These are the other members of our team, so if you are interested in and want to know more, we'll have a Q&A, and I'm available to talk as long as you'd like or answer questions. This is the team. Ryan McLaughlin in the North Central. Jeremy Hoyes is out west. He's in California. Randy Greer's in South Central, but we also have some other folks that can help with the Opening Studio software. So that's all I've got. We can open it up now for questions.
Hey, Jeff, thank you very much. This was just outstanding. You have to love how detailed our facilities field is and the amount of work and effort that it takes for those who are in charge of our key systems on our campuses to keep it safe but get things right up front. Can you talk big picture, Jeff, for a few, and we only have a few minutes here, about the benefit of that open specs in our design standard specifications?
Yeah, so open specifications, you know, I've heard Jeremy say it, he says it all the time in his presentations. The best way to keep the cost down on projects is to, rather than taking a hit in quality, maybe opening up your specifications to allow for competitive activity. Even if you have one or two distributors who have access to a specific manufacturer that you're working with, if you get multiple manufacturers bidding against each other, it's going to drive that cost down. And the above and beyond testing that's out there for the grade 1 heavy duty products is another thing to think about. Those are a couple of thoughts that I had.
Excellent. Hey, could you also talk, you know, we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution within our facilities buildings, with our universities, how we can stay on top of that technology applications at a rapid speed. Can you talk further? You were discussing about keyless access and infrastructure and actually reducing infrastructure by going wireless. Can you talk a few more items about the benefits of that?
Yes. In addition to cutting down on the wire runs, let's see if I can grab that elevation. Power consumption is another one. So we've got power supplies that are controlling locks, exit devices that have reduced power consumption. They require less power to operate. It's going to save over the life cycle of well, Jeremy can actually provide that information for you. But in addition to, you know, cutting down on the wire runs, we also have developed products that are consuming less power. They're making less of an impact on our environment.
Hey guys, sorry, it's Jeremy. I didn't know if you wanted me to answer there anything more, but I think Jeff, you kind of hit it out of the park there. Essentially on the install, obviously pulling less wires to the door is a benefit, not only for the people, for the people installing, but also on the residual power savings that you'll gain from having less wires and less power draw going on at that particular opening. So there's a couple benefits. One on the install, and even on the procurement side as well. It's a little bit cheaper than your traditional hardwired opening, and then obviously the residual energy savings. So a lot of benefits there for sure. So.
Well, Jeremy and Jeff, it's great. I got to make sure I'm off mute when I'm talking. I appreciate you jumping in there, Jeremy.
No problem.
I was on a roll talking about a collaborative effort between security and PDNC and our business partners. I also want to give a shout out to Bill Elvey, Ed Hepteg, and Angela Meyer, who've been heavily involved with the APA board. And thank you again, Jeff. Any final comments? We're going to wrap this up right now.
No, thank you for your time. I know that it's a heavy lift, and start somewhere. Start small. If you've got a 2 or 3 door job coming up, give one of our consultants a call, and we'd be happy to come out and show you how it works and get you started down that path.
Well, Jeff and Jeremy, again, we appreciate everything you guys have done for the last hour, and actually even. Besides that, ASSA ABLOY has been a strong partner of APA for a number of years. We sure appreciate that partnership. Jeremy, any final comments?
Thank you for the opportunity, Chris, and thank you, Jeff, for the presentation today. I will say for the campuses that are listening, this information is out there for you to capitalize on, and just obviously call us and contact us, and we can have a further discussion that meets the needs of your particular campus. So thank you for your time today.
Well, Jeremy, Jeff, and Billy, thank you very much, as always, for helping us get this coordinated. Again, we'll be having another webinar on April 25th. It's a Thursday. That will be at 9 o'clock Arizona time, 12 o'clock on Eastern time. We're looking from gas purchases to utilities. We'll be looking at flood damage and restoration coming up in the near future. And as always, some very detailed technical topics for our members. So guys, thank you again. Thank you, ASSA ABLOY. Thank you, APA. And we look forward to talking to you again next month. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.